Soldiers, sailors, all of our troops. Problems with our funding for kids to be able to go to school. Law enforcement. We Democrats believe we need a reasonable, balanced approach that will cut spending and put us on a path of fiscal security and stability.
Number one is with war. When we go into war, there's a lot of cost that is absorbed by the government to produce the equipment, to send our soldiers out, and in exchange for that now, after 2001 with the U.S. terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center, we now are spending a lot of money in regards to protecting the United States when it comes to cyber break-ins, when it comes to protecting ourselves domestically and internationally, along with basically still an ongoing war with Al-Qaeda and ISIS, and those costs have to come as a burden from the U.S. government.
State police, what we usually try to do is we have a lot of budget cuts and a lot of constraints due to the budget. So what we try to do is manage like our overtime and also our manpower allotments. So a lot of times we can cut back on our money by simply changing the types of schedules that guys work the roads on, whether it's an 8.5-hour schedule, a 12-hour schedule, or we have several different schedules we can work. So by changing those, we can influence the amount of overtime that we would pay out.
Well, that kind of starts the whole process, and every year by the first Monday in February, the President has to propose a budget to Congress. And then the rest of the year, basically, Congress is discussing and deciding what's going to happen with that budget. Now, one of the interesting things is you all the time hear congressmen say, oh, that debt is so massive, I don't understand how that debt got so massive, and it's terrible, we have to do something about it. Every penny that gets spent, it has to be approved by Congress. So in other words, they're the ones spending the money, but then they're the ones saying, oh, it's so terrible how much money is getting spent. And that's where the political part comes in. Because again, nobody wants to admit that they're the ones responsible for the massive spending. They're all against it, but they all, of course, want to spend the money. So the President, basically when Congress gets through with his budget, it almost never bears any resemblance to what he's actually proposed. And so the President's option, though, is if Congress does something that he flat out cannot stand with the budget, he can veto it. Now, one of the things that's happened the last few years is Congress has never been able to actually agree on a budget before the mandatory deadline. So they do these, what they call continuing resolutions, which basically kicks the can down the road a ways. We've had some government shutdowns because they can't agree. And of course, that's very bad for the economy and bad for people's faith in the government. So it's a big mess. Now, of course, President-elect Trump is talking about doing massive increases in spending and massive tax cuts, which there's a concern that's just going to really explode the deficit that much more. Now, the deficit is what you're short in one given year.
chance to come up here and talk through this problems, how we solve them. There is unanimity in that room that we're a country that meets its obligations, we're a country that pay our bills, and that we will act and do what's necessary to make sure that we can maintain that commitment. As the majority leader said, we've looked at all available options, and we have no way to give Congress more time to solve this problem, and we're running out of time. And the eyes of the country are on us, and the eyes of the world are on us, and we need to make sure we stand together and send a definitive signal that we're going to take the steps necessary to avoid default and also take advantage of this opportunity to make some progress in dealing with our long-term fiscal problems. We don't have much time. It's time we move. Thank you very much.
Thanks.